I'm Lena Brooks, 26, industrial designer, steady hands, jar of screwdrivers on the counter. At my surprise proposal, Connor Blake yanked out my hearing aid and hissed, "Quiet girls get chosen. Sign, smile, obey." The room cheered. I stood there buzzing, while his friend Maya Ellis smirked. "She's a walking patent. Slap Connor's name on her files." My stomach dropped like an elevator cut loose. Ever felt your body used as decor while your work gets renamed in front of you? Here's the worst of it. He tapped my ear and whispered, "Mute you, market me. Your name is optional. If you were me, explode and torch the room or expose and trap them with receipts." Say it out loud. What would you do? If this punches a bruise you know, don't scroll. Like, comment, share. No one's genius should be stolen to soundtrack a proposal. I'm Lena Brooks, I'm 26, and I design things that are supposed to hold under pressure. Hinges that don't wobble, joints that don't quit. Funny, right? Because the night my life bent out of shape, I learned people can fail load tests faster than any prototype. Picture this, a surprise proposal at a downtown loft, string lights, a champagne tower threatening to topple, phones up like a forest of small moons. I'm smiling because everyone is smiling at me. Then Connor Blake, my boyfriend, steps close, cups my face like I'm precious china, and with the other hand, he yanks out my hearing aid. Pop, sharp, private. He leans in so only I can see his teeth and says, "Quiet girls get chosen. Sign, smile, obey." The room erupts. The applause is wildfire. He kneels. He's beaming. And me? I'm suddenly a mannequin inside my own body. Here's the twist. My hearing had just come back a week earlier. New discreet aid tucked behind my hair. He didn't know. Which means I heard things he never intended me to hear. I heard his friend, well, the person I used to call a friend, Maya Ellis, whisper, "She's a walking patent. Slap Connor's name on her files." That line sucked the heat out of my chest. It felt like an elevator cable snapping. That free fall drop where you can't breathe and your brain is a siren. You ever stand in a room where everyone is celebrating your humiliation because they don't even recognize it as humiliation? It's like being furniture, useful, silent, pretty if you dust it. In that instant, my instinct split into two paths. Path A, explode, flip the champagne tower, scream the building awake. Path B, expose, smile for the cameras but start recording for the truth. I'm not going to lie, I wanted to scorch the earth. But I also know rage evaporates. Records don't. So I chose expose. Voice over people. This is where you lean in. I'm smiling, nodding, playing the dazed fiancé, but my thumb taps my phone's side button twice. Memo shortcut. I angle my body so my hair hides my ear and my camera shoots over my shoulder. Connor pulls me onto the balcony for a moment alone. The city buzzes. He puts the hearing aid he ripped out in his pocket like a trophy. Then, in the same warm tone he uses on donors, he tells me the plan. "We'll announce tomorrow. You'll sign the NDA Monday. We'll move your files into my deck so the story is clean. You can be the inspiration." He taps the curve of my ear. "Mute you, market me. Your name is optional." I want you to hear that again. Your name is optional. Tell me that doesn't punch you in the ribs. I don't argue, not out there. I let him think obedience is settling in like fog. Inside, I'm counting beats, tracing faces, mapping who's filming. Back in the room, I thank people I don't want to thank and scan reflections on their phones. In Maya's glitter case, I catch a message thread titled "Green Light." The search bar shows Brooks CAD, Hinge V12, STL Export. My design terms, my midnight notes. She's giggling at a meme while actively hunting my source files. I tilt my own phone, click, 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 frames of proof any jury can understand. You want more? At the gift table, someone's laptop sits unlocked. Don't throw a cruelty party and leave your computer open. The folder on the desktop is Pitch Northline Monday. Inside, I see my curved silhouette, my exploded view Hinge from 2:14 a.m., the load test sim I ran in sweatpants. All of it. In a deck with Connor's name on the cover. I take photos, no flash, no guilt. That's not snooping. That's retrieving your own fingerprints from a stolen scene. The worst part wasn't the theft. It was the chorus of helpers. The junior investor who raised his glass and said, "To the smartest accessory I've ever seen." The designer who wiggled her fingers at my ear like I was a toy and joked, "Off switch, Osh, green flag." Connor's mentor clapping me on the shoulder. Silent partners make the strongest teams. Say that out loud with me. Silent partners. I recorded that too. Timestamp, location, warm laughs like grease on every word. If you're listening and thinking, I would have burned it down, I get it. I taste that fire even now. But there's a calculus you don't see on camera: safety, housing, accounts. The fact that people who smirk while they steal will spin you as unstable if you scream. I'm not saying don't scream. I'm saying sometimes the quieter move lands harder. So I collected, I cataloged. I excused myself to the restroom, texted my lawyer. Yeah, I had one on speed dial for exactly this flavor of joke. Recording started. Confirmed intent to misappropriate. Delivering files tonight. She pinged back. Keep raw, no edits. Back up twice. No chain of custody. Boring, maybe. Life-saving, absolutely. Let me talk about pain for a second, because I want you to understand why this matters beyond the tech of it. When Connor ripped out my aid, it wasn't just rude, it was surgical. He reached for the exact thing that made me vulnerable and used it like a handle. That's not romance. That's control. I kept talking with my mouth because the room expected it. But inside, I was bargaining with myself. Don't leave your own body. Stay. Count to 5. Find the exit routes. If you've ever had to survive a moment with your face while your spirit is in triage, you know that feeling. It's not drama, it's architecture. So, yes, I played deaf to hear it all. I let him say the quiet part quiet. I let Maya call me a walking patent within arm's reach. I let the room applaud a performance it thought was love. And I whispered to the person inside me who was shaking, "We're building a case. Hold the line. You're not a prop. You're a designer, and we design outcomes." By the time I got home, I had a breadcrumb trail a mile long. Audio from the balcony, screenshots of the deck, photos of the unlocked folder, messages on Maya's screen, and a guest list annotated with who laughed and who winced. I dropped everything into folders named like a crime lab. Audio raw, screenshots, device sides, witnesses. I opened a doc and wrote a timeline minute by minute. If you're a maker, you know the comfort of version history. This was my version history of that night, V1 to V final, with every save visible. And then I cried, not the cinematic sob. The small body-shaking leak that happens when adrenaline drains and you realize the person who said they loved you loves the way you look silent. I put my old aid on the table like a medal I hadn't agreed to earn. I put my hand over my chest and counted the beats to prove I still lived here. Then I backed everything up twice, wrote one email with attachments to my lawyer and one note to myself. Feelings matter. Files convince. If any of this is scraping a bruise you carry, if you've had work reframed, credit reallocated, your voice managed, don't scroll. Stay with me. We're not done. Hit like. So this story finds someone who thinks they're overreacting. Drop a comment, explode or expose. What would you have done on that balcony? And share it with the friend who keeps getting called difficult because she refuses to play furniture. Because the next part isn't quieter. It's louder. It's public. And it turns that room's laughter into receipts the world can't ignore. Morning, my apartment smelled like cold coffee and metal shavings from last week's late night sanding. I stood in front of the mirror and said it out loud just to anchor myself. My hearing is back. I said it again until the words stopped feeling like a secret and started feeling like a spine. I slid in the discreet aid, tied my hair, opened my laptop, and called my lawyer on speaker. "Move fast," she said. "Let's set the table before they serve a lie." We drafted 3 messages. One to the awards committee that had been flirting with Connor's vision, one to his company, and one to the public. The rule was simple. Facts, audio, timestamps. No metaphors. No vague, felt-like statements. We included names. Not to be cruel, to be clear. Accountability without names dissolves into fan fiction. At 11:11 a.m., because symmetry calms me, I hit post. No background music. Just my face and clean audio. I'm Lena Brooks, I said. Last night, during a staged proposal, Connor Blake ripped out my hearing aid and whispered, "Quiet girls get chosen. Sign. Smile. Obey." He thought I couldn't hear him and his friend Maya call me a walking patent and talk about pasting his name on my files. He was wrong. My hearing returned last week. Then the cuts. Balcony audio with visible timestamps. The line that still makes my stomach flip, "Mute you, market me. Your name is optional." The screenshot of the Pitch Northline Monday folder with my drawings. The reflection of Maya's search for Brooks CAD. Click, click, click. Evidence hitting like a metronome. The internet lit up. If you've never gone viral, it's like a stadium roof ripping off. Wind from every direction. DMs stacked. Comments bloomed in clumps. I'm shaking. This happened to me. Different words, same play. Post the full tapes. Name them. Thank you for naming them. And then there were the soft ones that made me cry. I saved this to send to my little sister. I thought I was crazy. Thank you for being careful. That word, careful, it mattered. I wasn't out for spectacle, I was out for precision. Of course, backlash arrived, dressed as concern. Are you sure you want to ruin his career? Maybe he was nervous. Could be a misunderstanding. I posted a single sentence on a black screen. Understanding without accountability is permission. Then I dropped an additional clip, lower voice, balcony shadows, Connor's whisper. I need silence while I take your work and your name. You could feel the comment section recalibrate. Clarity is a scalpel. It cuts the excuse right out. Connor posted the classic Notes app apology, smudged, vague, focus grouped. I am devastated that Lena felt hurt. Felt passive. I have always been her biggest champion. He typed that while a deck with my drawings sat under his name. Northline's comms team pinged me for a meeting. Morning shows reached out with glossy offers. I said no to the couches, yes to the paper trail. The awards committee moved first. We are suspending Mr. Blake's prize pending review. His company followed. Administrative leave during investigation. Northline canceled his Monday pitch and asked to meet me and counsel. My lawyer and I went in with a simple ask before any talk of licensing. Public correction of authorship. Get the credit right. Everything else is details. They posted it within 24 hours. Not brave maybe, but on the record. Line by line, the narrative realigned to reality. And then the engagement party videos leaked. Not from me. From guests who thought they were filming joy. There was Connor toasting my silent partner. There was Maya, break her gently. She works better that way. The junior investor. To the smartest accessory I've ever seen. Hashtags started boiling. Not an accessory trended. People posted their own moments of being edited out of their work story. Interns, assistants, co-founders, spouses. It stopped being just my drama and started being a pattern people recognized in their bones. Meanwhile, I tightened my life. I changed passwords, pulled my files offline, and air-gapped backups. I told 2 friends to sleep on my couch for a week because exposure spikes danger before it settles. I blocked numbers that suddenly remembered I existed. And I wrote a list for anyone watching. If you sit on committees, codify credit protocols. If you run teams, put authorship in your onboarding. If you're in love, listen for contempt dressed as jokes. My call to action wasn't cancel him, it was fix the pipes. Because if you keep the system sloppy, it will always leak toward the loudest ego. Maya called once. We weren't kidding, she said, voice tiny. I thought about the times I pulled all-nighters to help her portfolio sing. About the night she crashed on my floor crying after a breakup. About the compliments she used to give me. You think in curves like nobody else. I remembered her other line from the party. Tools don't talk. And I realized she had decided I was a tool. Efficient, convenient, mute. I didn't yell. I let the silence answer back. Sometimes silence is not submission. Sometimes it's the sound of a door closing. Listen, I wish I could give you a Hollywood montage. Me dancing around the kitchen as the views climb. That's not how it felt. It felt like steadying a level until the bubble centers. It felt like sitting on my hands so I wouldn't clap back in ways that cost me later. It felt like letting evidence be the adult in the room. And it felt like people who had been waiting for a case study to point to finally having one. Teachers wrote me, HR folks, union reps. We needed receipts to force change, they said. Thank you for handing us a binder. If you've watched this far, do the small things that make big things move. Hit like so the algorithm shows this to someone who's saving their own tapes. Comment with the worst joke you were told to swallow at work. Share it with one person who calls herself over-dramatic when she's actually accurate. I'm not asking for rage's sake. I'm asking for witnesses, because witnesses turn a story into a structure. And for anyone tempted to DM me, couldn't you have kept this private? No. Private was the balcony. Private was the unlocked laptop. Private was the laugh track that told on itself. Public is how we keep the next joke from getting budgeted into a pitch. Public is how we tell the interns they're not crazy. Public is how we leave a breadcrumb trail for the person 2 steps behind us who thinks they have to be grateful for being used. Take a breath with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. We're okay. The loud part is over. The precise part worked. Now we see what consequences look like when they wear real clothes. Paperwork isn't sexy, but it's oxygen when you've been drowning. My lawyer filed our complaint midweek. Misappropriation of trade secrets, breach of confidence, disability-based harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We attached audio transcripts, device info, screenshots, version histories, the whole chain of custody spine. It looked boring. It felt like a keel under a boat that had been tipping for months. Connor hired an attorney who said misunderstanding like it was a magic eraser. Their first letter called the balcony talk romantic banter. Romantic banter doesn't include your name is optional. It doesn't include sign smile, obey. They floated a private settlement. She's emotional, the letter said, like emotion is a leak in logic. We declined, not out of vengeance, out of principle. We wanted a court to say the quiet part out loud. Credit is ethics, theft is theft. While filings shuttled between inboxes, money started moving like furniture in an earthquake. Investors paused payments to Connor's project. The awards committee asked for his trophy back, pending investigation. His badge stopped opening doors. Northline's general counsel emailed, "We have serious concerns about authorship and would like to speak directly with Ms. Brooks." My lawyer set terms. Public correction of authorship first, then conversations. They swallowed and did it. Not a parade. Enough. Court days have their own weather. Fluorescents that buzz. A judge whose eyebrows are more honest than half the room. I wore the blazer I wore to my first portfolio review. No makeup, steady breath, notes in a thin folder. When the audio played in that boxed-in quiet, I watched Connor look anywhere but at me. The line, "Mute you, market me," landed in the silence like a dropped wrench. Maya kept her eyes on her lap. Their counsel tried a new angle. Communal ideation. As if my 2:14 a.m. hinge fix belonged to the ether. We pulled up CAD timestamps and version histories that tracked my edits like footprints in fresh snow. I talked torque limits and torsion failures and the way your wrist remembers weights. The stenographer smiled without meaning to. Facts stack. Stacks make walls. Walls hold. The judge granted a preliminary injunction. Connor barred from presenting or profiting from anything derived from my design. Return and delete all copies. Forensic audit to verify. Likelihood of success on the merits recognized. It didn't end the war, but it changed the ground under it. I exhaled for the first time in weeks in a way that didn't feel like stealing air. And still, let me be real, vindication wasn't fireworks. It was alignment. The first time I saw "Designed by Lena Brooks" printed on letterhead not my own, I put my forehead on my kitchen table and cried a small, neat cry. The kind that washes grit out of tired places. I called my mom. She said, "I was afraid your silence would outlast your will." I said, "Me too. But I'm back." We didn't say the rest. We didn't have to. Settlement talks started months later with different weather. Less theater, more math, compensation for damage and delay, acknowledgement of authorship in writing, a public apology that named harm, not feelings. The awards committee agreed to implement attribution audits going forward. Northline put credit protocols into their contracts. Penalties if violated, authorship clauses in bold. A product manager told me, "We've never done this." I said, "That's the problem." Then I signed a consulting agreement with clauses I wrote for the intern version of me who didn't know to ask. In the middle of all that, I went back to my bench. The curve I couldn't look at after the party, my curve, called me over. I renamed the line. Not solace, reclaim. Because that's what it felt like. Not hiding to survive, but choosing to stand in my own name. The first time the prototype held double the load without wobbling, I laughed. I mean, really laughed. Sound you can lean on. I framed my old hearing aid in a shadow box and hung it near my desk. Not a wound on display, a boundary. You will never use this to mute me again. I won't pretend I didn't want revenge. I wanted a line of quotable cruelty to stalk Connor's inbox for the rest of time. But revenge gets stale. Justice builds rooms. And I want rooms that fit more than me. The emails I loved most weren't "drag him." They were, "Our board adopted a credit policy today," and "I played your audio in my class," and "I finally told my boss I want my name on the slide I built." That's the work, not the algorithm, the after. Connor texted once. We were a team. I typed and deleted a dozen drafts, then sent the only sentence that fit. Teams don't mute their own. Block. Done. Maya wrote a longer message. History, friendship, misunderstandings. I forwarded it to my lawyer and didn't carry it. Relief is also a boundary. If you're still watching, if my voice is in your earbuds while you wash dishes or drive or sit on your bed trying not to cry, this part is for you. You're allowed to gather receipts in peace. You're allowed to tell the truth without apologizing for its volume. You're allowed to leave the room that only loves you silent. Build your exit net. Passwords, backups, witnesses, legal advice if you can swing it. Listen to the jokes. "It's just a joke" is a draft of future harm. Say the plain sentence. You muted me so you could move my work under your name. And when your body wants to float away, anchor it. Hand on chest, breathe, count the beats. You live here. So, yeah, consequences look boring on paper. Filings, dates, exhibits. But they feel like oxygen when someone's been holding your head under. If this helped you see a way through, don't just nod and scroll. Tap like, so it reaches the kid who thinks she has to be grateful for being used. Comment with the boundary you're putting in writing this week. Share it with the one friend who keeps calling herself too sensitive because she refuses to be furniture. Outrage is fuel. Focus is steering. We'll need both. Last thing. People keep asking, were you wrong to smile that night? Here's my answer. I wasn't smiling for him. I was smiling for the camera that would become the mirror that would become the proof. I chose precision over performance, exposure over explosion, and the bridge held, my name held. If you're standing where I stood, on the balcony with your heart pounding and your choice splitting in two, know this. Feelings matter. Files convince. Credits are ethics. And your voice is not optional, so here's where I land, and I'm saying this the way I'd say it to a friend. On a late night call while the dishwasher hums in the background. I'm Lena Brooks. I build things that are supposed to hold under stress, and now I know I do too. That night wasn't just a bad proposal, it was an X-ray. It showed me the fracture lines, the little jokes, the casual credit grabs, the way silence gets marketed as compatibility. It also showed me something else. I can choose precision over panic and still protect myself. People keep asking, am I in the wrong? Was I wrong for smiling, for playing along, for recording instead of flipping a table? Here's my honest answer. I chose the option that kept me safest and made the truth undeniable. Rage is understandable. Evidence is unavoidable. The explode version might have satisfied the moment. The expose version protected the years ahead, my work, my name, my peace. If you needed me to blow it up in public, I get that. If you're relieved I built a case, I get that too. Maybe the better question is, were they wrong to treat my voice like an accessory and my work like a free add-on? We both know that answer. What did I learn? Boring, unglamorous, life-saving things. Document everything. Feelings matter. Files convince. Timestamps are tiny superheroes. Share previews, not source. Just send me your raw files is not a neutral sentence. Listen to jokes. They're drafts of future behavior. If someone laughs at your silence, believe them. Name the harm plainly, not poetry, precision. You muted me so you could move my work under your name. Build an exit net, passwords, backups, allies, a lawyer if you can. Safety isn't luck, it's logistics. Credits are ethics. If a room can't get credit right, it won't get care right. And a softer lesson I'm still practicing. I don't have to be endlessly reasonable to deserve respect. Boundaries are not a customer service tone. No isn't me being dramatic, it's me being clear. There's a version of me that would have begged to be understood. She did the best she could with what she knew. I'm thankful for her. I'll take it from here. If you're watching or listening while you sit in your own quiet war, maybe at work, maybe at home, try this little reset with me. Hand on your chest. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. You live here. You do not have to abandon yourself to be loved, promoted, or praised. You're allowed to gather receipts in peace. You're allowed to tell the truth without apologizing for its volume. You are allowed to leave the room that requires your silence to function. Am I in the wrong? I don't think so. I think I finally got right with myself. I chose the path that turned noise into proof and proof into change, not just for me, but for anyone who saw their own story threaded through mine. The loud part faded. The sturdy part stayed. My name stayed. If this helped, if it steadied your hand or lit up a corner, do the small things that make big things move. Tap like, so this reaches the person who needs it at 2 a.m. Drop a comment with the boundary you're writing this week or the joke you won't swallow again. Share it with the friend who keeps calling herself too sensitive when she's actually dead on accurate. If you want more nuts and bolts on protecting your work, your voice, your peace, stick around. We're building something sturdier than applause here. I'm going back to my bench after this. I'm going to draw one clean line and put my name under it. Not because the internet said I could, but because I always could. That's the real win. And if you're standing on your own balcony, heart pounding, choice splitting in two, explode or expose, know this: whatever keeps you safest is the right call. Evidence travels. Your voice is not optional. And when in doubt, remember the simplest hinge rule I know: what's built with respect holds.